With a price tag this big, I knew a YouTube short wasn't gonna cut it. So here we are, taking a deeper dive into the McFarlane Toys Joker Movie Deluxe set. This thing has collectors either hyped or grabbing their pitchforks, and I had to see for myself if it's really worth the cost. Stick around until the end of the video for my final thoughts and to see exactly what I did to the packaging. But first, let's break down Joker himself and see where the road takes us. Looking at the figure, it's easy to see it fitting right into the McFarlane standard collector line at $29.99, which makes it a bit more of a bummer that there's such a steep paywall to actually get it. That said, the suited body looks fantastic. The sculpt is clean, the proportions are on point, and McFarlane actually put some effort into the paintwork. There's even a subtle black wash in certain areas to give it a slightly worn, lived-in look. In terms of articulation, it moves just like every other suited body McFarlane has released. If you've handled one before, you know exactly what to expect. Easily my favorite part of this figure, the faceplates. Every expression fits the character perfectly, making them great for display and toy photography. But take the faceplate off and yeah, it gets really creepy. At this price point, a couple more faceplates could have really elevated the set and made it feel even more special. Still, the ones we got, solid choices for sure. Now, let's move on to the Murray Franklin figure. Getting an articulated Robert De Niro figure is something I never thought I'd see, and I gotta say, it's pretty cool. You know, having Murray alongside Joker definitely helps complete the scene, and for me, the possibilities of using this figure in toy photography are fun to mess around with. As for the likeness, McFarlane has really stepped up their game when it comes to actor sculpts. I think this one turned out pretty solid for what it's based on. Yeah, it's another suited body, but at least this one's got some charm. Now, in terms of the body design, yeah, it's a little more defined than the actual Robert De Niro, but I'm not losing sleep over it. He looks good. The paintwork is on point too, and I really appreciate that they took the time to paint the belt and buckle, something we don't always get with these figures. The color choices for the suit work really well, and honestly, I have no real complaints here. It does exactly what it needs to for the character it's based on. As for articulation, these are standard McFarlane bucks, meaning they do standard human things. Nothing revolutionary, but nothing terrible either. You can get a casual hand wave, a proper dancing Joker, and even an action-ready Murray because, well, why not? And yes, both figures can actually sit in the chair. More on that later. So, we've already seen the faceplates, but let's talk about everything else. Overall, the accessories turned out pretty solid. A clown mask or extra Murray head would have been nice, but the multiple hands, weapon, notepad, and mic are all great additions. That said, Murray's coffee cup, way too oversized. Seriously, this thing looks like he's sipping from a small bucket. Let's step away from the figures for a moment and talk about the prop replicas included in this set. As cool as they are, they just don't do it for me. The Joker sign being made of metal is a nice touch, but the flyer, yeah, I don't really care about that, to be honest with you. Now the notebook, I thought I'd feel the same exact way, but I actually appreciate that it includes writings from the characters. Plus, the extra blank pages give me something to work with. The laughing condition card doesn't really do anything for me either. The Joker collector card is nice, but I do wish Murray had one too to kind of balance everything out. Once again, I don't hate these items, they just don't add much for me one way or another. First up, here's a size comparison with two other McFarlane figures. You can see how Joker and Murray stack up next to other releases from the same line. Now, even though they're not in scale, here's how they look alongside some of the more popular 6-inch figure lines, just in case you're wondering how they fit into a mixed collection. And here is our final size roundup with some 7-inch scale figures so you can see how they measure up with figures closer to their actual scale. Now, let's talk about the Live with Murray set. I have to say, the stage is pretty nice. There's a lot you can do with it, whether you're displaying figures or even setting them up for toy photography. Now, if you've ever seen or picked up any of those McFarlane 66 Batman sets, you'll know exactly what to expect here. Whether that's a good thing or bad thing, well, that depends on how you feel about those sets. Putting this thing together is pretty straightforward. Let me show you. It's as simple as connecting both sides together, and just like that, you've got the front piece built. Now, I appreciate the design of the floor. It looks good and fits the scene, but at this price point, I do wish it was made of something other than cardboard. It's already warping a bit, which isn't great. That said, it's easy to put together, and once everything is in place, you can't help but smile because now you've got a proper set for your figures to have some fun with. First up, let's talk about Murray's chair. It's a nice piece, it gets the job done, and has a cool design. Now, Murray's jacket isn't the most flexible, so getting him to sit all the way back takes a little work, but overall, it fits the setup well. Next up, we got the plant sitting in the background. It's a nice touch, but let's be real, you could buy something like this at an aquarium store. At least they put it in a planter to make it feel more intentional, more or less. Now, for some reason, I actually like the guest chair more. It's well made and it holds figures pretty well, which makes it a solid display piece. And finally, the desk. From the front, it looks great. Good size, nice design, but when you look at the back, it feels pretty cheap. Now, is that a huge issue? Maybe, maybe not. But at this price point, should it have been more filled out? It's up to you to decide. Personally, I wish it had a little more weight to it. And here it is, the full set, all put together and ready for whatever chaos comes next. Once everything's set up, I'm not gonna lie, it's fun. Seeing Joker on stage, Murray reacting, adds a lot of character to the display. But is it $249 plus shipping fun? That's the real question. I don't know, but I do know one thing. I'm gonna try and get every penny's worth out of it. To stress this again, this set isn't without its flaws, and the biggest one, the price. Now, I don't work at McFarlane, so I'm not about to engagement farm over whether the price makes sense. At the end of the day, you have to decide if it's worth it. Had I not been a McFarlane Toy Store Platinum member and gotten a discount code that brought this down to $150 plus shipping, I wouldn't have picked it up. Is it fun? Yes. Is it nice? Absolutely. But at full retail price, I don't see it. But thanks for stopping by. Stay tuned for a quick look at the end for packaging, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Spoiler alert, the packaging, yeah, it's gone. I had to reuse the footage from the short, but the results is the same. For inbox collectors, it was a nice package, but for me, I just don't have the space for boxes. And with that, thanks again for stopping by. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll catch you on the next one, or see you on the flip side, or whatever it is. Thanks again. I appreciate the support.